Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. We're going on for our 14th episode of If This Canvas Could Talk. So excited to talk with a special guest today, and her name is Terry on, and then we'll start on our 14th episode. Oh, good. Hi, Tara.
Good morning. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. I'm great. How
Okay.
are you?
Good. I see Amy there. So let me go ahead and get Miss Amy on. How are you doing today? Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm here.
Okay. Good. Hi,
Hi.
Amy.
I
Ugh.
too early? Am I on the
Oh my God, you're totally
Perfect.
perfect.
okay?
Yeah, we're just introducing ourselves. So I'm Jeanette Bergstrom, and below me I have Terry Wilson Art, and this is our kind of our iPod on Instagram called If This Canvas Could Talk. And we are so excited today because we have an artist who's been doing abstract art since, I don't know, 20 something years. So she's one of the girls that went to art school, started out, always wanted to be an artist, and just went for it. And we are so excited to talk with her.
Thank
Because
you.
Yes.
we all became artists after the fact, but you were there from the very beginning. So we just want to hear all about it, and maybe just give us a little intro. On my post, I put a little bit of your artwork that I absolutely love, and I love your color palette. But tell us a little bit about you, and anyways, how you got where we are today.
Okay. So my name's Amy Bonham. I am originally from Southern Utah, fairly close to Zion National Park. Most people know where that is.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I grew up in the desert. It's red rocks and real desert climate. I felt I needed to leave home for college, so I went up and actually attended Brigham Young University, and I did their art program. So actually, I should reverse. Before I went to Brigham Young, I went to a Utah Valley community college, or I guess it was a state college at that point. And I did an associate's degree there. Then I went and did a mission for my church. So I went to Brazil for a year and a half, and I lived there and did a mission for my church. And that was pretty cool. So I can speak Portuguese.
Wow.
I
Wow.
get along a little bit with Spanish, but I'm better with Portuguese. And then I came home, and then that's when I went to Brigham Young University and just did the art program there. So I met my husband towards the end of my program. And so my husband's a musician. He plays the viola. He's classically trained.
Wow.
We're both technically in the same building at the school. We were in the arts building, but we didn't meet each other until we had a blind date. And the blind date worked out. We to a wedding reception on our first blind date. I caught the bouquet, so then we had to get married.
Oh my goodness,
That's
that
awesome.
was amazing on the first date.
Yeah, it was really, we were married within 6 months, but we're still married, so that's good. Yeah, so we have a really good relationship. He's a musician, I'm an artist. He's always very supportive of me, but yet at the same point, he's not like, I'm going to build your panels. He's like, you do that, you know how. And so in our garage, all the wood shop tools are mine. He's like, cut this piece of wood for me, because his fingers are too delicate. You know, we can't cut off his fingers because he's a musician. So
Right.
I could probably get by without fingers, but anyways, so we actually moved to Chicago, and we lived in Chicago for 6 years, and that was a lot of fun. But you know, I was having children during those years. But I graduated from college with child. I had my first baby on the way when I graduated. And when we moved to Chicago within 6 weeks, and he did a program at Northwestern University. And so I was there, and I just really felt like, okay, here I am. I've got my art degree. You know, what am I going to do with it? I think it's hard when you're having children, raising a family, to be able to make it your focus.
Right.
The first year of the baby, he was this amazing napper. And he went to bed at 6 p.m. So I actually made a lot of work his first year.
That's amazing.
It's when I had, you know, the other kids, it got a little more crazy. But yeah, so I just felt like I needed to make art, and I kept doing it. And, you know, life is crazy. Raising kids, I've done a lot of different arts organization jobs. Well, while we were in Chicago, I did a few solo shows, focused on my art. But then we left Chicago and we moved back to Southern Utah, where I'm from, St. George. And when we were there, I actually opened an art school and also started a street painting festival. So I'm the founder of that event. So, and I can tell you more about street painting, but so I got really involved with like arts organizations, so a few nonprofits.
But when you did in Chicago, when you had your solo shows, like, how did that, you know, I don't want to go too far back because we want to talk to you about what you're doing now, but, you know, that's the kind of stuff that we're just starting to explore. So I find that fascinating that you just like, oh yeah, and I had a solo show and I'm going on and I'm doing, I mean, like, that to me is a big deal.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
Well, like I said, the first year I was painting a lot with my baby, but it was kind of like right when we moved there, I heard about this fair. It was called Custer's Last Stand. It was on the street called Custer. And so I said, okay, I want to do this fair, like an art fair. And I was going to make a booth and all this, but we didn't have the money to buy fancy panels and make a nice fancy booth. But I didn't worry about that right away. I worried about making the art. And so I gave myself that goal. And that was within probably like the first, 9 months of living there. So I just started making art, and I made, but the thing is, I'm kind of like a procrastinator if I don't have a heavy deadline. That's why I love going to school, because I'm going to have someone give me an assignment, give me a deadline, and tell me, maybe even quit. So I gave myself that goal to do that fair. And I started making the work for the fair and, did that. And I literally had like the most, I'm going to say like just silly booth. I used 4x8 panels and painted them white and literally hung them from my tent and put my paintings on it. But I ended up selling quite a few paintings, or 2 that weekend, and then a few more that, quite a few more that that came on after that. So it was pretty cool. I just kept finding little things, and one of them was like a bakery in Chicago that had this wait list to be an artist and show in their bakery.
Oh, wow.
It was like almost like a 1.5 or 2-year wait, and my husband was like almost done with his program, but I was like, we're probably not even gonna be here by then. So I waited. I'm like, well, we're still here. I better put myself on that, wait list. And that was probably in 2005. So I did end up doing that, and I sold a painting there. So, and then I did a few other fairs, like street kind of art fairs, and they had and one was actually a woman's gallery, and it was kind of cool because it was like you could pay. It was a woman's run gallery, but you could pay to basically like rent a
space.
Yeah, a space in
That's
the gallery.
cool.
And that was February 2006, actually, that I did that solo show. But it was amazing because, again, I had this whole space, and I knew, okay, I've got to fill this up, and I've got to create a body of work. And I think I just titled it Recent Works. I didn't even come up with any fancy name for the show. I just wanted to show what I'd been doing. And so it was really good. So I kind of feel like I always have had this mentality with my art, and especially being a mom and doing all this. I just kind of keep telling myself, just keep your foot in the door.
Right.
Yeah.
Foot in the art door. I'm like, I've, it's so hard on social media. You compare yourself to all these other people.
Mm.
Is doing this. They're selling. They're in 7 galleries. I'm in one, which is awesome, and I feel really blessed for that.
Yeah.
But it's so hard. So we all have to look at ourselves and say, this is my life. This is my journey. This is what I was given. And my life is crazy. I mean, this morning, even this morning, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to call. My mother-in-law told me the nurse is coming at 10:30 because my mother-in-law lives with me. She's just had some heart issues and I'm helping. I have to cook her food now. And I'm like, she can't come at 10:30. I'm like, this is not going to happen. You gotta tell her to come at another time. But I think, anyways, it's crazy.
Well,
yeah.
So thankful for you to take your time to be here with us, because all of that you just said is like ringing true. Because I know Terry's working on, and I've heard that before from other artists, that doing the fairs or doing the galleries or doing that does set goals, so it does get them motivated to do. And I know Terry's working on something right now. And I said, oh my gosh, you're producing so much. And she said, well, I have to get ready.
Yeah.
So I totally hear that from other people. So that's amazing. I wanted to ask you, and then I'm going to let Terry ask you some questions,
okay.
But because I want to ask you about the gallery you're in now, because it just sounds really cool too.
Yeah.
And, but have you ever done any grants or applied for grants?
Oh, yeah. When I was in Southern Utah, I got quite a few, but probably at least 2. One was actually, for my personal art. I've written grants for the festival that I started, but for my personal art, they had a grant with the museum at the college there, and it was actually a purchase award. And so you applied for it, and then the college actually purchased the work, and so it's in their collection now, which is really cool, because it's someone just saying, hey, apply for this, and we're going to choose an artist and that piece, and we're going to buy your art, and then it's going to be in our collection. And so that was really cool that I won that.
Yeah.
So I've a collection at the college from my hometown, and then I got another grant to do a show, and it was cool because the college and there is doing these they have this annual thing for artists called the Business of Art, and at this kind of conference they would give out grants and give awards to the artists who were recipients of them. So I felt pretty blessed because, I got a couple of those, and it was just like, here, we're going to give you a show, and this, you have to tell what you need the money for, if it's, postcards and marketing the event or producing the art, and then they give you the money, so it was really awesome to have a few of those experiences. I haven't really tapped into or figured out California yet. In Utah, I kind of had an in with the Utah Division of Museums there, so I don't really know what's available here. I just should probably go and start looking, because I'm sure there's probably a lot and I don't know about it.
Well, especially in Laguna Beach, but I don't know anything about grant writing or anything about how you go about it. And I know Artwork Archive does post and have a listing of available grants, but like I have no idea. And again, my comparison would come out and say, oh my God, I'm not good enough to apply for a grant. But I don't. So that's a whole nother topic, I guess. We should.
I know. I should write that one down as like another day.
Yeah. For like public art grants where they want you to produce your percentage that's supposed to go to art for every new building that's made, but I didn't get it, but I applied, and some grants are easy in the fact that they're really kind of step by step, and it's almost like fill in the blank, and I like better than some that are just kind of open-ended, like what are you going to do? Like those are hard because you have to do a lot more writing, but really
Yeah.
organization. And like I said, it's the grants that I got through the ones in Utah were fairly easy as far as the application process.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I don't know anything
Yeah.
about that. And then Terry, do you have any other questions on her back? Oh, one other thing I wanted to say, when I talked to you before at the gallery, I love all your art has been done on cradled panels, and you make them all yourself.
I was making all of them. I know how to make them. I've had the larger ones, like this one behind me, this other one over here, these two, those two. I had somebody here in Orange County who makes them, and for what I think is a pretty good price. And so I'm like, that's totally awesome. It saves me a lot of time. And so, but I do know how to make them, and that's pretty cool because if I feel like I have more time than money,
yeah,
which is, as an artist, at least for me, especially in the beginning, you're always trying to figure out, well, how can I do this for less? How can I make more of a profit as far as that goes? And you don't want to skimp on, quality of materials, and you want to make sure you do a good job. And that presentation is very important.
Yes.
First learned how to make the panels. I don't know. I told as good of a job, but I've gotten better over the years.
I told Amy she needs to do a class for us on how to build those cradle panels.
But well, okay, this is going to sound so silly, but I mean, what is a cradled panel? I mean, I'm assuming that it's like you paint on wood, like you build a wood backing with sides. Is that?
I'm going to get one.
Okay.
Hold on.
I'm like,
I'm sorry.
Okay, do I need to know about this? I think I need to know about this.
I didn't know you didn't know what those were, Shari.
Well, I mean, I've seen people painting or applying things onto wood, like wood, but I didn't really know the name or how. I haven't delved into all of that. Like that's a whole other world, right?
Yeah. Well, she'll show you. Oh my gosh. Hi, everybody that are watching right now live. Thank you for coming.
Okay. So this is just a piece of wood. This is a 1/4-inch birch plywood. And I like birch. It's a higher quality wood. As far as that goes, you look up anywhere, they'll probably say KU's birch. So this is birch, but this is not cradled. Okay. It does not have a cradle. It's just a piece of wood that is 1/4-inch ply. If you go down to an 1/8 inch on some, I don't think you can get birch, thinner, but 1/4 inch is good. If you go up to 3/4, then it's like such a heavy thing. So 1/4 inch is what I buy, and you can buy them 4 foot by 8 foot from the Home Depot. Big. And you can have them cut down. On a lot of artists, and there's a lot of programs, and a lot of people watching might have done any of the stuff with Nicholas Wilton.
Okay.
Art to Life program. He teaches to paint on the panels. So the idea being that as a piece of wood like this, it's kind of a step up, a grade up from paper, because paper, what happens when we paint on materials that aren't so precious is we can be more free, right? We're not like, oh, this is such an expensive canvas, I don't want to ruin it. That's why people use paper, because you have this different sort of freedom when you don't care so much about your material or your
about the result.
Yeah.
You don't care about the result so much.
Yeah.
So when you paint on a panel like this that's on wood, and what's really cool is, like, I learned, like, my very first painting class in college, they said, you're going to build a cradled panel. And I was like, what's a cradled panel? I didn't even know. And literally they gave us very little instruction, which is why mine fell apart within the first, 2 years, whatever. But so going back to wood, it doesn't, when you paint on it, it's very stiff. It's not going to have the flex that a canvas does. I think, and I know there's people that paint on canvas that do put a lot of paint, or like a really heavy bodied impasto type thing. And I think for the most part, that's okay. But I did have one of my galleries in Utah, sorry, you got an itchy nose, who said that they had an artist, and when they shipped the canvas, because she used such heavy paint, there was some, I think it ripped or something like that.
Oh no.
The problem with a canvas with a lot of paint on it is canvas has flex, right?
Right.
And when it moves and you have a lot of paint on it, that paint can break. It can break, it can come off, it can chip. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen all the time, but there's more of a risk to having that happen. And it just depends on how much paint you put on, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to do a lot of paint, like what we call a rigid surface, like a panel, like a piece of wood, is better because it's not going to bend at all. So this is 1/4 inch, and you can carve back through, like you do a layer, you have yellow underneath, you do blue on top, you can carve back through and expose layers underneath, and you're not worrying about ripping the canvas.
Right. Yeah.
This is not cradled. Now, the thing about it, when it's small, it's fine. As you get larger on a piece like this, you're going to have it bend and warp.
Or bow.
Or
Yeah, and bow.
Oh, yeah, because it's thin, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's wood, right? And you're putting the paint on it, and so the grain is gonna tighten on one side and not the other, so you're gonna get it uneven. So if they're small like this, they're fine and they don't really need to be cradled, and you can put them in a frame. I have a couple of frame that aren't cradled, and I can show you one of those, but I have those built. I don't really do those on my own. But then the other option is to build a cradled panel. So this one here, I should have got a smaller one. So this has a panel that's built with wood.
Right.
Okay, and I put blue tape on it. But you can see this one, these aren't mitered. So someone would miter the corners and then you put them together. And like I said, Jeanette wants me to teach a class.
I do.
I gotta get a little more organized, but anyways, that would be great. So the idea is that I've built this as a support, so it kind of looks like a canvas in that it's deep. It's like this is almost two. It's 1 1.5 or 1 3/4 by the time you add the piece on the top. So I build like a frame, and then I kind of put this thing on the top, almost like a lid. Right?
Yeah.
And then
That's cool.
yeah, and then you trim it off and
Right.
and make it be all flush and when I paint on it, I put the blue tape on because then I like to keep the wood nice.
Yeah, I like the look of the wood too.
Like little presentation, and then I don't have to frame it.
Right.
Yeah.
But
And Nicole asked, are you running into any problems with the expense of shipping the bigger paintings on wood? Do you ship them that way, or do you mostly sell, local where you don't have to worry about the cost of shipping?
I've been doing mostly local. I haven't shipped a large painting, but when I was in Utah, I don't think it's that much more. When I was in Utah, I actually shipped some paintings down here when I was getting into a gallery before I moved here, and I think they were 40 by 40, and I shipped quite a few of them. And I only paid I think I probably paid like $500 or something. So I don't know, it just depends. And with a larger painting, but I'm not good one to ask about shipping the big panels because I mostly sell local, and that I don't know, I haven't really tapped into, even though I have my shop set up. There's some weird things with my Instagram, and those of you who know that I've account last year for.
Did you hear that? She had her account hacked.
My account.
Is that why you have 2 accounts? Because I saw on your either your Instagram or your web somewhere you posted that you had 2 accounts now, and so is that why?
I think it's listed on my link tree.
Yes.
Like the thing. And so I said, I have 2 accounts because I made another one because I didn't think I would get this one back. And there's some funny stuff with my shop and my Facebook linkage and all this that I have to figure out because now it's just
It's a mess. I know. That stuff
gotta
is.
deal with Meta on all this stuff and get things reorganized. So I haven't really been selling through my shop, but I have a shop. But then the other day I was checking and it's like, finish setting up your shop. I'm like, great, no one can really even buy anything from there. So
Oh,
it's what it is. I'm not super worried about it. If someone really wanted to buy something from me, they'd probably send me a DM or something, you know. But like I said, I mostly sell local and showing in the gallery there. And so I don't know. It's something I still have to figure out. I'm not the best at.
oh, none of us are. I don't think any of us are good
Yeah,
with all that
yeah.
social stuff. But we're learning. We're
Yeah.
learning as we go.
We're totally learning. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's get
Yeah.
into where you are now with your art journey. And so Jeanette said that oh my gosh, the day that she was with you at the gallery, she was beyond thrilled. She's like, oh my gosh, I got to spend like so long with her and pick her brain. It was so amazing. She was so excited. And so we were like, okay, yeah, we definitely want to talk to her and find out more. So you are in what is called a co-op gallery right now. And I had been looking into those out here. I'm out in the Seattle area. I'm about 40 minutes south of Seattle. So there are a couple of them that are here in the area. And so we have a lot of questions. And the main ones are, one, getting into it, the process of you getting into it. And then two is, what do you feel like are the pros and cons of doing it? What are the benefits and what are the drawbacks to doing it? And how has your success been with doing it? Do you think that as an emerging artist, it's something that we should look into more seriously and try out? So all of that, go. No, I'm just kidding.
Laguna Beach. I didn't have I'm not in, sorry, I'd moved to Dana Point. The gallery's in Laguna Beach. But Dana Point is south. So it's like one city south and, 20 minutes from the gallery. But I didn't have a gallery that was representing me. I had done these pop-up shows and other things. There was one at this warehouse. It was so crazy, but anyways, I actually met these two artists at the Laguna the Pageant of the Masters, and then they have the art in front, which is called the Festival of the Arts. So I went there one day. It's so funny because my husband's a musician and he plays in the pit, the orchestra pit. Oh. And sometimes he's like, I was like, hey, I want to go see the art. He's like, okay, come in the back door with me. So I didn't even pay.
Nice.
Nice. To go see the art. I didn't go see the pageant, but I just walked around and saw the art and talked to artists and stuff. And I ended up meeting two artists that night. And I think at one point they were telling me, yeah, you should come over and see our space or come to the next art walk. And so I ended up going to the art walk and going to their gallery and talking to them. And these two artists are both in this co-op gallery. And how it works to get in is they have a magical number of artists they want to have in the gallery. That's their ideal number, and it's 9. So 9, they like to have 9 artists who are members of the gallery. So they had one artist was leaving or had left, and they were kind of looking for another artist, and they told me, well, I should apply. And so I applied by, first of all, like just taking my work in. They liked it, but then they had to have the other artists
all agree
on and agree. Yeah, they agree that the work fit, because all the work is abstract in the gallery, and so all kind of have to feel like this is a cohesive. It kind of fits with other people's work. And so they kind of juried me in, which was good. So the gallery, there's no owner.
Okay.
There's a space. So this gallery has been around for 41 years.
Wow.
41 years ago, these 10 women, it was all women at the time, they were taking this art class and they all said, we want to have a gallery, we want to have a space. And I think a lot of people kind of laughed at the beginning because, you know, they were like, you call maybe Sunday painters or something like that, you know, but they end up finding this gallery and renting this space. And so this has been running as a gallery for 41 years. And it's not technically a women's gallery in the fact that it's exclusively only for women. Maybe in the beginning it was, but in the time I've been there, there've been a few men in the gallery, you know, but then they've, you know, moved on or left or whatever. And so it's not exclusively like that, a women's gallery. However, currently it's all women run. All the members are women. So there's 9 wonderful ladies in the gallery, and we all take turns working the gallery.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also pitch in various ways. So someone runs the Instagram. Somebody pays the bills, somebody does the marketing, you know, and then it goes down to little things like I changed the toilet seat the other day. You know,
yeah.
I can do it. So, but yeah, it's really good because you don't, so the benefits, in my opinion, to a co-op gallery, I always have art on the walls.
Yeah.
Sometimes a commercial gallery, well, I should say, different commercial galleries do it differently. Some commercial galleries will represent, like, I don't know, many artists, 25, and then showing in a month, they might only have 4 on their wall or 5 because they're doing exhibits, right? And they rotate through. Although they'll have your work in the back, it might not be up, you know, only every 6 months, or I don't know how often it happens. So have the nice thing is every month I always have something on the wall. And that is awesome because, you know, I have people come into town or whatever, and I'm just like, hey, let's meet at the gallery. You can see my art. And I mean, because I'm a member, I have a key to the gallery. I can say, it's 8 o'clock. Let's meet at 8 o'clock. And let's go look at my art at 8 o'clock. And the gallery's not open. But because I'm a member of the gallery, I can
go in anytime.
Right. Other benefit is, like I was talking about, this constant push to create art.
Yeah.
Right.
Every single month, we move the art from one spot to the next in the gallery. And even though you're not like in what we would call one of the featured spots, it's a new opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to bring in something new.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get different, you know, and
Right.
sometimes it's the same art. There's a few places in the gallery where it was like, okay, you can stay in that spot for 2 months instead of, you know, moving from this to this. And that's nice too, because like January 1st, if I'm on vacation and my kids are at home, I'm like, I'd rather not come and move my art just because it's a lot of work. But it's really nice because you get this opportunity to bring in something new, have a new fresh, and the gallery looks different every single month. So it's not like people come in and get bored, you know, because it's always,
Because they think it's just the same. Yeah. So it changes all the time.
And then because there's only 9 artists, and we actually have 2 like different featured spots. There's the spot in the front, which is where my work will be February, and then the spot in the middle, which is this cool little like skylight room with like really nice natural light, and it's its own little space. But if you think about when you move every single month, that means like every like 4 or 5 months, I'm in a featured spot. I'm like, I'm having a show. They're like, you're having a show again? I'm like, you just had a show. I go, no, I'm having another show.
That's awesome.
And people are like, oh, sorry, I missed your show. I'm like, it's okay. You can come see my work the next month. I just won't have as much on the walls. And bonus, in 3 or 4 more months, I'm going to have another show. So there's always this, and it's like this. And sometimes I get stressed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have another show. And I've only made like 1 new painting. Like for this show, it was just, life was crazy. December, I had an eye surgery and Christmas and traveling and stuff. So there's months where you're less productive, right? But there's this this push to do something new.
And motivation.
Like I said, I could be a procrastinator if I didn't have somebody saying, okay, what are you going to make? What are you going to do? You know? And so, like I said, I have to, sometimes with my life, I have to just be calm and be like, okay, it's not a big deal. I have like 6 paintings over there that I'm looking on the other wall that I wanted to have done by next week. It may or may not happen, probably won't. And so there's going to be some items that go to the gallery that were there in September as well, you know, but it is, you know. So the downside or the difficult part for me with the co-op, and I had to, and this goes to how do you define success, okay? So each month we have to pay a fee, and it's a fee to be in the gallery. And that's because, I mean, if let's say during COVID or some other time when sales aren't up, the gallery has to be able to make rent, right? So we all have this monthly amount we put in that pays for our rent, pays for utilities, just keep the place running. What's good about that, I mean, that's fine, but depending on how much money you have, sometimes it's tricky to be forking out money monthly. But it means when I do sell a piece, the commission amount, so in a commercial gallery, you're going to give them 50% of that. And when you go into commercial gallery, look at the price and realize if it's not a co-op, the artist is only getting half of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
However, usually a commercial gallery, they're really good at, that's why they're getting paid, because they're good at selling,
promoting.
So
yeah,
I wouldn't have a problem with that. My goal is to still get into commercial gallery, not in this area, probably somewhere else, but I would love to have that, Also with a co-op gallery, usually they'll say, okay, you have to live within this certain region because you have to be able to come work.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can't live so far away, like we had somebody that came and she was in San Diego, I'm like, that's just probably too far to expect them, even though it's only 3 times a month that you're coming, it's probably just a little bit too far for them.
So it's not, Amy, it's not 3 days a week. It's 3 days a month.
What did I say?
You said
no,
3
she
days a
said
month.
3 days a month, but for whatever reason, we were thinking it was like weekly that you might have to go in.
Oh, it's only 3 days a month. And
that's great.
It's not that much, but sometimes I get this feeling, just because my time is so crazy with my thing, I'm just like, and I keep doing this because it can be taxing. But then I have to say to myself, this is important for me.
Yeah.
And it's so wonderful to be able to leave your studio and go for a few hours somewhere else.
And be social.
Yeah.
Meet people.
Be in the midst of amazing art, be able to talk to people about art.
Yeah.
And even if it's a slow day and no one's there, just have some quiet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important. It's almost meditative for me to have that. But again, it's one of these things where my life is crazy and I just keep thinking, how can I?
That's like your safe space.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really, it's good as far as that goes. But the other thing that I think is interesting to ask, and Terry, you said something about success. So I've had to ask myself this question, how, and this is so interesting, especially when I have a show and when the show's over, people will say to me, how was your show? Was it a success? And I'm like, okay, well, let's think about that. How do you define success? I sold 1 painting, or I sold all my paintings, or I sold no paintings. I mean, if you're defining it by selling work, I would say half the time, then no, it's not successful, because it's not even you sell out your show or anything, so you can't just look at the numbers as far as sales and say, is it successful?
I think it's the connections that you make.
Sure. Oh, for sure. When
Yeah.
I'm applying to this art show, and I have no intention of selling anything. I mean, if I do, great. But for me, it's about the experience that I'm going to gain from doing it. It's about not just doing the actual art fair, but like you said, leading up to it. And what I'm learning about myself is I took notes as you were saying that earlier of like, hey, I thought it was going to be super stressful to have to create this body of work in a time frame, and that I was going to shut down and not be able to create because I had this pressure. But actually the opposite is happening, of like I'm feeling inspired and I'm moving faster and not overthinking things, and there's joy in that. So realize I'm just learning a lot in the process, and to me that's success.
Yeah.
So not necessarily, how much are you selling all the time, although we do want to sell because we have to be able to buy more art supplies and like keep painting, right? So yeah, it's very subjective. Just like success is subjective, just like art is subjective, right? So I'm glad you brought that up.
I mean, everyone you have to define that for you. I mean, if you just feel like, I don't know, if that's the only way you define yourself as an artist, then you might want to think again about if it's the right thing for you to do. I mean, you need to be doing the art because making the art makes you happy, sharing the art happy. I mean, I am very cautious with a lot of things, that even fairs and festivals that cost a lot of money to get into, because my first thought is, I do think about that. Well, and my husband will say, well, how much money are you going to make? I'm like, how do I know how much money to make? Yeah. So I'm very cautious with deciding, which fairs or festivals or stuff like that, because, not only is it there money involved, but for me it's time. And I have my kids, I have 3 teenagers. I don't know if people know, my oldest is a boy with special needs, and he's 20, but he requires a lot of work. And so if it's too much with time, I'll just say, there's other things for me, or other ways for me to be doing my art, or sharing or showing my art. So there's some, you just have to pick and choose, and everyone's on a very different journey, and what works for one is not going to work for another person.
Right.
And isn't that the beauty of it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It can fit a lot. It can fit a lot of people into what we're doing, because they can pick and choose what their journey is and what works and what fits for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So cool. And then Amy, what is the commission that they take at the co-op?
It's like 20%, or it's either 15 or 20, and depends on if they're like a credit card or cash, So
but that's way different than a But then the other thing Terry and I were talking about was, the other thing about a co-op gallery that could be detrimental, but it could also be positive, is the difference with people that are working that day.
Yeah.
And how they sell.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like, I think, everybody has a different style of dealing with people and stuff. So it's, you kind of don't have control over that as far as that goes. But I don't know, I've still had, I still feel like it's a good thing. It's a good setup. And I even talked to a lady, or did a class on a lady that, I don't know if you guys know Jen Tuff. She does the program called Artist Alliance, which I think is a really good program that talks more on the business end of things. And she's a gallerist.
Oh, neat.
And she offers workshops. It's really cool about getting into galleries and stuff. So, and her thing, and because I was in this live workshop and I was talking to her about the co-op, she goes, stay in the co-op. That is a good place. That is a good thing, And so, because there's parts where you're just like, I don't know, this part is hard, or this part is difficult, or not as ideal, but I think there's a lot of good things about it. And like I said, I've had to weigh it a lot. And especially like financially, if my husband was, how are you going to sell anything?
Yeah.
How long do you keep doing it? If it's, if you're, let's say you're not selling off the gallery walls, is it only just about the money, But I think there's so many benefits to being in any gallery and having that
exposure,
yeah. having the push to create art, having a place to show art, And I mean, I've thought before, oh, you could do a home show or open studios, and occasionally that would be fine. But my life is crazy and my house is crazy, and I'm like, as much as I can,
yeah,
it's so
Yeah.
in other places just because it's not crazy, So,
Yeah.
but some people can do that where they have a home studio where they can show and bring in clients and stuff like that. But I think being out there and on the main thoroughfare is really
Great.
good.
Well, and then the
And
other
it gives
thing,
you confidence. Oh, sorry.
yeah, go ahead, Terry.
Oh, it gives you a sense of confidence, when you have those things lined up and you're able to do all of that. And then that confidence exudes over into how you create your art and then how you start talking about it.
Yeah.
And that I'm really looking forward to going to the art fair and talking about my art. Like, I'm nervous about it because I've never really done it other than on social media, And so, like, how do you talk about your art and how you created it and stuff? But I'm looking forward to learning how to do that, and then just being able to, we make it in solitude, and then you're excited about it and what you put into creating it. And so to have somebody look at it, appreciate it, and then be able to talk with them about it sounds really fun.
Yeah.
It may be draining at the end of the day, but I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think it's great. And there's a lot of different types of co-ops. One of my friends, and he was on here a minute ago, I don't know if he still is, but Lance, he's up in Long Beach. His space that he is in has a workspace, so it's a studio, but then they have a gallery attached to it on the front. So that's a really great option too. And a lot of people like the idea of not working at home, and having a space where you go to your gallery, or they just don't have a space that's big enough for them to do things at home. So
right.
A lot of different models of different types of co-ops. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how else or what other questions you'd have about it, but I think ours has been going on for so long that they've kind of worked out all the quote unquote kinks, and it's pretty much down to a science, or not perfectly, but in order to make things work and run well. And so it's a really good group.
Yeah, no, I think they sound like a really good option, especially more than a commercial gallery in some ways, especially for new artists. I think it's kind of a really good way to get your foot in the door into being in galleries. So I when we heard about that from you, when I went and met with you, I was excited about that. But oh my gosh. Okay, so now we have to find out. So what do you have coming up?
So next week I'm taking this painting behind me and a bunch of paintings to the gallery. So I'm doing my solo show there. It's called Windows.
Great.
And it is for the whole month of February, and I'll be in the front space of the gallery.
And in the window, right?
What's that?
In the window.
And
that they have.
So that's not really why it's titled the name of the show, but yeah, so I created, like, some of the works are ones I made before, but what I did in my last show is I used these tapes, and you can kind of see on the wall behind me.
So cool.
Kind of a mock-up of what might happen there. But this idea that these forms, the paintings have these forms in them, and they're entering and leaving. And I really like the idea. One of my mentors, Nick Welton, talked about, like, having your art be a window. And I don't know if he actually used a window, but a small piece of something much larger. And so when I started painting these, it was actually this other one over here.
So beautiful.
Yeah. Wow.
Like this big form that kind of moves in and then out. It's a little skewed there. But I started thinking about this idea, if your art is like a window to something more, then what is this more? Where would this go? Where would this shape go? How would this be like continuing on if it was a whole world, right? And if this painting was just this little teeny aspect of it, where would these forms go? So I started thinking about continuing the lines on. I've also done street painting and the anamorphic distortion with the large 3D paintings. And with those, you have to stand, I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but I shared some of my story. You have to stand, in order for it to work visually, the viewer has to stand in a certain spot for the things to line up. So my show in September, I had a certain viewing point in the room, and the viewers had to stand in a certain point in order for the lines to in the place. So if you were standing right in front of the painting, they didn't line up. But if you were standing at 3/4, at a 3/4 view to the painting, there were these forms that moved off the painting onto the wall. Oh, cool. And so that knowledge kind of came from the street painting that I did. But yeah, it was kind of like extending the art onto the walls, creating a world of like what might be going on in my head, but giving the viewer a glimpse into what would happen if these forms kept going, or where would they go, and how would they behave. And so it was just like this weird, but it's not like I'm painting on the walls, because they're just these lines, almost like a coloring book, but it extends on, but it just gives you like a glimpse of it. So the show that's coming up will have some of that too. And I have some ideas, but it's not perfectly mapped out yet. It will be something that I figure out when I'm doing the installation.
That's so cool. So good. I'm just so excited.
Yeah.
What day is that, Amy, that you're having the open house?
The opening,
I want to go.
It's the first Thursday of February. So that's February 2nd.
Okay.
And during the art walk. So they do, all the galleries are open 6 to 9, and a lot of galleries will have their opening receptions in conjunction or on the same night. So that's my opening reception. But I'm in the gallery 2 other Sundays that month and 2 other Wednesdays. And if people, like come, then I'm actually going to be in there like an extra day. So I'll be in the gallery 4 days plus this opening, which is like 5 days. 5 times you could possibly catch me or see me in the gallery with my art. So that's February. Really exciting. And then the last day of February, I think it's on like the last day, that's when we take the art down, and then another artist will be in the spot.
Okay. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Congratulations. Yeah.
And then where can they find you right now? Just on your Instagram and then your website?
Yeah, my website, amybonham.com, my Instagram, Amy Bonham Art, and then I also have Amy Bonham _studio, which I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how to maintain both of them and not have them be exactly the same.
Yeah. I'm thinking you should probably pare down to one again if you think.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, but then it kind of didn't work, because even this post I did this morning, I was like, oh, I was going to put that on both, like you can be a collaborator. So I was going to put that on both accounts, because it wasn't a reel and it wasn't a quote, because I do these quotes. Anyways, it's just hard to remember everything, especially when you're doing things at like midnight.
Yeah, I have a hard time between just Instagram and Facebook, let alone having 2 accounts. I can't imagine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
But you do what you can do, and I don't know, I'll figure it out. But yeah, so and I was gonna tell people too, just in case they're wondering. I mean, I painted for about 18 years. I had a certain style that I would say was like abstracted landscapes, and then I really felt like I really wanted to do an MFA. Like I was like, this is what I want to do, because I felt like my art had been similar for so long, and kind of I'm like, well, am I stuck, or do I just really like the way I am because I'd kind of made this cohesive style, you know, but yet it was like I could put a painting that I had done that year, like 2018, next to a piece of art I had done, 15 years before, and they kind of felt like they were, in the same show. And that's good in the fact that, okay, yeah, it was maybe cohesive. But then I started to think, man, I'm just like, am I stuck? Am I, I felt like I needed to be moving or evolving or changing, but I didn't really know how to get myself to do that and give myself permission to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard about the free workshop for Nick Wilton.
Yep.
Nicholas Wilton, called Art to Life. I did the free class, and then I ended up signing up for the one after, which is called the CVP, or the Creative Visionary Program. And I'll just tell you, like, I went to art school, and I think there's so many things that he teaches in that program that are just amazing, and things that they don't teach you, at least in the program I was in. I mean, I loved my education I got, but it was just an amazing way to push me into and like so many things with value and design, that it was like there were some things I just did almost intuitively or innately, but then I was like, oh, well, that's why I do that. Or there was a lot of things that I didn't do or didn't understand, and I would shy away from them, like using pure white or using pure black, because I just thought that's a no-no.
Right.
You don't. I'm like Monet. I don't use black. So, like, I don't know why. But there's a lot of things from those courses. So if people are interested, I would definitely say there's a link in my Instagram for this free workshop. I mean, if you're a beginner or not, like I said, I found a lot of value in his workshops, even just the free one. So I definitely would recommend people to check that out if they're interested in really, if you think about it, making your art stronger.
Right.
That's
Mm-hmm.
the thing that I think helped me a lot. And I did change. My work did change as far as, like, I would say, like, my style or whatever. But I think it's for the better. I mean, I don't, well, I shouldn't say like that, because my other work is good too, and I was selling that too. But it's like, I think you have to give yourself permission, and that was hard for me at the time to say, I can create something new, and it's not going to change me as a person or my identity. I think sometimes we get so tied up into we are who what we are our art, or I am this way because I was like, I create organic landscapes because I'm from a small desert town, and I mean, why? I don't know. But
do you think that's the art school influence on you, feeling that way? Or just
like
inherent?
you mean you're tied to your art? Like,
yeah, like, does art school teach you to be like, you have to represent yourself like the same way? Because I struggle a little bit with trying too many things and not having it look cohesive in the beginning.
I don't know if it's like art school, but I think you do learn going to school this idea of creating a body of work.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you, and I tell people all the time who are interested or starting out with art, I say, well, make 30 of something. Make 30 barns, make 30 hot air balloons, make 30 abstracts that have this same feeling or whatever, so that, and then when you're done, 30 is a big number. Usually a show, it just depends on how big they are, but you could have a show with only 15. But by the time you get through doing 30 of anything,
The same subject.
you're either gonna love it or you'll get better. That's for sure. You're gonna get better. Or you'll either love it or you'll hate it. You'll move on to something, or you'll explore it more,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's the thing. And I don't know if that's necessarily from art school, but I do think there's this idea that you're taught to create works of art that relate to each other. And if you can do that, you're gonna look more professional to the audience, because it's like you understand, you know, like it just feels like you're exploring you're taking one idea and you're exploring it, right?
Gotcha.
And that is a body of work, and you can show that, you know. And for example, my daughter, she just got accepted into art school.
Oh, yay.
Going to the Chicago Art Institute.
Wow.
So,
Oh my God.
Wow.
That's awesome.
yeah, when she applied, or when she was, I don't know, are we running out of time? What's
We're
that?
good.
Listen, how are we doing, Tara?
We're at an hour, but we're the boss of us. So as long as you're good on time, then we're good.
I didn't know if it like shut off or you can't save it after a certain number of minutes.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We do have to get off soon because it won't save.
Oh, how long do we have? We're at an hour.
Okay, then I think we got to get off.
Okay. No.
Okay.
Then we have to have you back on, because like literally you were about to give us a nugget and now we're left hanging.
Yeah, she made 12 paintings that were portraits, and she just rocked it because she learned, you know, how to do something, explore a single item. Anyways,
Okay.
that's about it. But
Exciting for her. That's awesome. That's so awesome.
I
She's
could
going to
talk
have
to you.
such a great adventure.
I could talk to you forever.
Thank you guys all so much. It was so awesome being here, and
Okay.
I hope to see you guys soon.
February
Absolutely. Thank you.
February 2nd.
February 2nd, and then Nicholas Wilton's free seminar that'll lead into his program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 13th. So that's there's a bunch of stuff in my link tree on my my Instagram.
Okay, we'll check it out.
right.
Thank you, Amy.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for
Bye.
watching.
Thanks
Okay,
for
bye.
watching.